So today I'm here with Kaarel Kotkas. He's the CEO and founder of Veriff. Veriff is an online identity verification platform. So they power identities for companies like Instacart or Bumble or Uber. Kaarel started Veriff straight out of high school, and today Veriff is one of the leading ID verification companies in the world. They have over 600 employees, growing almost 100% year over year, and are profitable. Welcome, Kaarel.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Kaarel, tell me about Veriff. What do you guys do?
We enable any website and mobile application to match the person with a government-issued ID. And we are taking passport, driver's license or ID card and match it with a selfie we've taken within a single flow.
Got it.
We are working on building towards the future where the passport is issued by Veriff, not only by the governments, to enable borderless experience and make honest people trust it.
How did this get started back in 2015?
It was spring 2015 when I got connected with TransferWise, now Wise, and this was like one of the fastest growing companies in Tallinn, Estonia. And when I started to talk with them and we got a couple of other topics sorted out that I found out that requires improvements, then they said, Kaarel, we'd like to leverage your skills. Maybe you can have a look on our identity verification. What can be done there to improve it? And I was like, yeah, let me have a look. And this is an area where I thought first time after going through the flow that let me try the tricks that I did.
Try to hack the system?
Eventually, yes. But it was something where I wanted to do when I was still living on my home island, growing up on a farm. And when I wanted to order goods that wasn't delivered by the local shop, then it was eBay. And then setting up an eBay account was easy. But the payments globally were powered by PayPal. And debit account required uploading an ID. Within a week, they let me know that you're not 18 years old, you can't use those services. So then I felt it was like an instruction for a kid living on an island. So I changed my date of birth, uploaded the same ID, and all of my orders got confirmed. And this topic, I didn't think of doing anything like wrong or hacking back as a kid. It rather felt like an instruction and somehow it worked. And then 2015, I started to test the system.
How old were you in 2015?
I was 20.
20? Okay.
And for me, it was the thing like, yeah, let me try it out. Let me try out the things where I'm now having a skill set of Photoshop, Illustrator instead of a Paint. And let me try to pretend to be somebody else online. And what I found out, that this problem still wasn't solved. After analyzing it all, it became clear that identity verification wasn't accurate, didn't scale, killed conversion, and the cost of doing fraud, having just pictures, was super, super low. And this was an area when I went there, I showed to Wise team.
So did you build that first version yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
And eventually it was for me, presenting, saying there's no way to improve it, it all needs to be built from ground up.
And was Wise using external provider at the time? Or?
Yes, they were using external partner.
Got it. And you came in, you built your own thing, you were 20 years old, and you showed something that was working better than what they already have.
I mean, this is eventually how I got started by going in depth into this industry. But the conviction was super clear. Instead of 3 pictures, you need to have over 1,000 data points that enable you to have objective decisions at scale, like video from the beginning till the end, instead of pictures that was just not fit.
So how does Veriff work? Can you just describe it? For someone who doesn't know, I'm sure everyone has used ID verification, just don't remember using it. Like, how does it work?
Veriff enables every website and mobile application to make sure that people are truly who they say they are. So for this purpose, we are using devices camera, where people need to follow instructions given on the screen to take a selfie and their ID. And this enables us to see if the person voluntarily, real-time with valid identity is behind
So if I am trying to buy something on a website and require my identity, you will ask me to take a photo of myself, take a photo of the ID, or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Majority we are using today government issued IDs, but in very many markets we are already able to leverage government registries without the need for an ID or using additional insight of.
So in the US, this is the experience, but in other countries you have a different experience based on what the government is like.
Exactly, because where government issued identities are the best form today, still every country is different with their identity maturity and adoption, and you always would love to leverage the best tools for the task at hand.
Yeah. What was the level of fraud in 2017? Like, how easy was it to fraud the systems that existed? If you wanted to fake your identity, either your age or something else.
The key part, what I noticed needed to be fixed, was that globally identity verification was only driven by the compliance demand. It was mainly financial services, and this also meant that companies did as much as needed and as less as possible, because complying with regulations don't prevent fraud, and eventually you need to go so much more in depth. And Estonia was actually a good example for me, where I noticed that digital identity infrastructure is actually powering every single service, whereas financial services are only 5%. And the only reason how you can do it is that you're having the most accurate verification experience. So this meant that I started to tackle it from the infrastructure lens, how we are not going to be a vertical SaaS for a compliance, but how we can actually go and solve the problem, which is like identity verification isn't scaling, kills conversion, and is not accurate. And this eventually meant that on a global scale, companies, very many levels in financial services, try to tackle the fraud with a transaction monitoring after the fact, and identity verification layer was used more as a check mark. And over time, when we started to have more real-time payments, then meant there was no time to do any transaction monitoring, and this pushed so much more emphasis on the accuracy of identity as well.
Got it. So this became a tool from being a compliance and you're required to verify people's identity. Basically, ID verification is now a tool to fight fraud, among other tools.
Exactly. Yeah. I believe like the way how it started eventually on the market maturity as well, then all the fintechs back in the days that were mainly like growing and driving growth and seeing it as a compliance, then many told me that, yeah, Kaarel, you've just built nuclear-powered submarine going for island hopping. We just need something more simple. So what it meant that actually first customers were like traditional banks in the Nordics that actually were the ones that really needed to prove out that online identity verification done by Veriff is even more accurate than physical face-to-face authentication.
So was your first customer, was that the banks or was that Uber?
It was actually banks.
Banks, okay.
And then it was Uber.
How did you get Uber as the first customer? Because you had Uber when you applied to YC. How did you get Uber as a customer?
So when it started back in 2015, it took 6 months to get the product ready to start with local banks. And this was something that I started, and then a couple of months later, Uber in Estonia for driver onboarding wanted to do strong verification so they can actually be able to have people onboarding with online courses without the dependency on an office space and meetings. And this was eventually an area that Uber had a lot of autonomy for all the city teams, and this is an area that we pushed out.
Got it. So you were basically the provider they could use in Estonia.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Were you full-time for the full 2 years, like 2015, 16, before you applied to YC?
Like full-time? Yeah. Okay. It was like the moment I finished my secondary school, it's been my life's work since.
Wow. This is the only job you've had?
Yes. Wow. This is exactly the area where I ended up having like first 60,000 euro investments. That also meant I needed to become profitable within 6-7 months. And then it eventually meant I'm growing very closely with the customers and having a conviction what it truly takes.
Going back to the office hour in Estonia in 2017, do you remember what I said I think I was insisting on US because I said, hey, we had this problem at Airbnb. Why are you in Estonia?
Exactly. And when we kept on talking about the US experience in your life, you also mentioned like in US, some people are using SSN number, which is like a public secret, like keep it secret, but please add it everywhere and still use as a form of identity, which...
Yes, it's crazy.
And then we thought about it, yes, this is exactly the part as our fit, our global tech with global volumes, and US is definitely where the majority of those businesses are.
And then you chose to apply to YC. Did you know about YC before the event, or?
Yes, I did know it. I didn't know if we are like ready yet to actually take with a crisp plan a topic that will apply. So it was actually an area when we had a great discussion, and I felt like, okay, we might be, so I'll give it a shot.
Okay, and then you applied, and then you interviewed with me and Michael, I think.
Yes, exactly.
And I thought the interview went great. I was really impressed. You have basically a working product that you built yourself that was a problem that I was familiar with that I thought a lot of companies here would use, but there were two problems. What were the problems?
I still remember. I was in Mountain View, and then I got an email where Michael called out that we truly believe in the market opportunity and the product you've built, but you're like a solo founder and your cap table is already messed up.
Yes. What does it mean to have your cap table messed up? You had sold how much of the company?
We need a longer story. But back when I got this message, I already thought I got it all sorted out. But it actually gets back to the level where I started on building Veriff and getting to work with initial customers and prospects. Then one of the banks said like, yeah, we'll start to use this product, but it requires additional security certifications and maturity to be bank ready. And they asked, how much does it take to actually build and sort those topics out? And then I said like, yeah, it takes 60K. And all in all, I got pretty fast an investment from the bank to actually be able to sort those topics out. And the moment we kept on going forward, then in a year and a half, already more tech investors came on board. And they came to say that, Kaarel, we love what you're doing. We definitely like to actually help you to scale it further. And I signed the term sheet, 5,200,000. And then the investor said like, Kaarel, before we are like signing it off, can you send me the cap table? And this time, honestly, I Googled what does cap table mean. So eventually I sent him a cap table, and he was giving me a call, and he wasn't like over the moon. He was like, Kaarel, are you the most craziest or dumbest person I've ever seen, as you've sold 95% of the company for 60,000 euros? Like, what's your case about it? And then I said like, I needed to gather the initial investment to get going. Because for me, it was like Bill Gates owns 3%, he's doing okay. But it was, Kaarel, you are not gonna do it. You eventually need to solve it.
I actually have the email here. So let me actually read the email that we sent you. Hi, Kaarel. Unfortunately, we've decided to not fund Veriff. We were excited by the potential of your product and believe that good authentication online is a large and growing problem. What concerned us was the cap table and the lack of co-founders. We think it takes 10 years to build a large company, and you need a team of founders and investors that are bought into that long-term vision. I encourage you to address these issues and consider reapplying to YC. What happened 2 weeks later?
The moment I got this email, I didn't want to wait until the next batch, and I started working right away. It was starting to figure out how I can actually onboard also towards the longer vision a team. And I was talking with Janer, who was one of the early employees at Veriff, to bring on board as a later stage co-founder. And then going back to the investors, where I honestly thought that I already was able to sort those things out in the past.
Right.
But making sure that I'm aligned with everyone, what it takes for us to go from 50-50 cap table with investors and the team into 75-25. And when I sent you the email back that I got it fixed, then you said like, yeah, pack your bags and see you in 2 weeks.
Yes.
But it was still quite a journey to actually get the cap table fixed and sort those things out. Ending up of me taking a €1 million personal loan, sorting and resetting up until getting it fixed. And here we are, 10 years later.
Within 2 weeks of getting the rejection, you have sorted out the cap table, you've added a co-founder, and then you were in YC. Is there a lesson that you want to give to other founders who maybe feel like they're stuck in a similar position?
Nothing is broken. Everything can be fixed.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it was busy 2 weeks already before the batch.
And then you joined YC and you came out to ESA probably the first time. And I was like, here are a bunch of intros to companies that I think need what you're building. And you met with all of them and they all seemed quite excited, but not to become a customer. Like some of them became customers, but others were like, we want this in-house, we would like to buy your company. So you had almost as many people saying we'd like to be customers, saying we'd like to buy Veriff in the batch.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to grow and keep on getting like smaller companies.
Yeah.
But the bigger ones, after like having initial tests and topics done, they said like, yeah, we'd like to have and buy, instead of service, your company as some said like, yeah, you're not big enough for our big volumes and this takes a little bit more topics. Right. And eventually it was pretty hard as I really wanted to get them as our customer. And it also got to a level where some said like, we are not going to sign a contract otherwise.
Because they knew that if you would sign a contract, then you would have a very easy fundraise off that contract with like some of those famous YC companies.
Exactly. But overall, the key part for me was still the case that I just bought back my company fully.
Yeah.
I not sold that underneath any other company I can grow faster than we could do independently. And the biggest part of Veriff is actually the fact that we are independent. Yes. We are able to actually deliver industry-wide cooperation against the fraud and move towards driving least friction for the honest. So all what it meant was there was quite a lot of money.
Yes, I remember the opposite. Like basically people offering you many tens of millions for the company, and which instantly would have changed your life. But you've already done all this work to take over the company yourself to make it your company again. And I think we had a conversation of like something like, "Will you have an idea this good again?" or something like that. And you were like, "No, this is the company that I'm running." And you said no to all of them. And then you grew 3x during the YC batch. And then you came to demo day, and it turns out that you and me were not the only people that recognized that this was a real problem. What happened? What happened sort of like throughout the batch, and then remember coming at demo day?
I think the batch was great. It was truly leveraging the fullest and making sure that no door is locked. You just haven't knocked enough, and making sure how I can actually talk with a lot of companies in the area. Yeah. And we were like growing well and profitably. Yeah. And I remember when we had this demo day presentation where very many companies were like calling out about their team. Mm-hmm. And then I tried to have my team slide there as well, that this is the only thing that I've done eventually.
Your bios of the founders was not the thing. It was exactly. Like, it was the fact that you were growing with like...
I think Michael even said like, Kaarel, please do leave out the team slide, focus on growth. And then it was the time we like built those slides together. Yeah. And it worked.
So in a way, like the product didn't change. You were the same product at the end of the batch as you were when you interviewed. What happened after YC?
After YC, it was actually the part that we raised 1.23 million. I took actually a flight back after 3 months to Tallinn, Estonia. And what ended up being the case that Estonia was like I feel Valley is so small, even smaller than my home island. So I ended up saying no to those different offers at hand and having this 1.2 million to actually keep on having the right talent to go and scale. And this was the area that the moment I landed, I ended up having multiple term sheets on
Series A term sheets.
Series A term sheets.
Wow.
That we started to discuss, and they said like, who is this crazy Estonian who doesn't care about money and wants to solve identity? So yeah, here's money, an investment, and we actually found a very good partner that helped us. And right after YC, we closed 7.7 million Series A.
Got it.
So going forward, it was all about how we can make it scale now, how we can actually leverage the video that has a chance to work on all the low and like high latency, low connectivity internet levels. And this is where Estonia with Skype engineers was the best. And this was an area we started to have very solid infra team to really make sure the media analysis comes in handy. Then how we can actually make all the insights to work the best. And Starship has one of the Skype co-founder who has founded it being the best engineer on itself, but they had a very solid talent on how we can make the automations work with the insights. Then we got to the level that blockchain.com was one of the companies in the crypto space.
There was kind of two things that happened after YC. We'll talk about the COVID in a second, but first there was the crypto kind of boom basically. And crypto is all like some of the companies were regulated, which means they all had to do ID verification.
Yeah, but why Veriff was so much better fit for crypto was also the part that fraud always follows the money, and there was tons of fraud. And our product was delivering multifold better accuracy than any compliance tool out there. And this was an area where blockchain.com came to us and said like, we are having $120 million worth of stellar airdrop, which was $50 promotion at sign up, and how people are able to get it. And
when you give away free money, you have fraud.
Yes, and eventually it was one of the areas where $50 was so much more worth actually outside US and Europe, where we had our automation experience.
Oh, I see.
And this was the part where we started to have the volumes we've never seen before at the rate of coming it very globally. That also meant we needed to just keep up with the pace and have a team on how we can actually domesticate those wide volumes, whereas we can still leverage also the insights for the global establishment and product reach. So it also meant that actually we hired around 200 people within.
And that was manual people, were people that manually verifying identities, or was it engineers, or a mix?
It was a mix, but when we needed to actually scale together with growing volumes, it was like building a plane while figuring out where the plane is. And this was very exciting times, as you always need to keep on growing with the customers. But it also was the case that we had like very big customer concentration in the early days.
So crypto came, you caught on with some major customers, and then COVID came. And in a way, for many companies, the first couple of months of COVID were scary, because it basically meant like volume was going down and people weren't doing things. I remember you mentioned at some point to me that you were on the last flight back from US, from San Francisco.
The first couple of weeks was in a way long, but again short for us all, as it was very weird. We don't know how the world is gonna happen and what's gonna work. But what it meant was actually our volume skyrocketed. Companies eventually came to our platform. They started to figure out how we can have like bank on a traditional level
Because the usage of online services went up and everybody worked from home, so you have to also verify that the people working from home are who they are.
Exactly. Remote examinations, notarized contracts, all the services relied on identity verification. And this was an area in the first 2 weeks that volume skyrocketed, but at the same time the existing customers, they felt like they don't know how the world's going to look like, so they are also delaying, let's say, invoices and stuff. So it was a weird setup at the beginning, but eventually it showed that everybody are in need actually to have a trust infrastructure that enables you to make sure if people are truly who they say they are when we are all at home.
After COVID, or after you started getting these new customers, it seems like a pretty straight ride. Like basically since like 2022 and up until today, the company's been growing very well and very steadily, and now you're profitable. How would you describe the last 3 years of the company?
There is always so much to do. And of course I have another 20 years in me on building Veriff and trying to always learn what are the things that can be done. But the company as an organization is changing very, very fast. We also need to ensure that the team is growing faster in terms of their personal growth than the company itself. So what it means is that you're becoming a coach of a soccer team where your success depends how successful your players in your team are going to be. So you can't be in a position that you're going to actually run on your own and try to actually be there. Now you're a coach now. But another area was also to make sure that how you can manage the organizational growth and the design. Back at those times of raising a lot of financing, then it also got to a level where organization was getting very complex, and despite us leaning in on investments, we weren't meeting our full potential by having the right structure in place. So I think it was always managing it out, how we can be that organization is not having like one manager for 2 or 3 people, and how we can actually keep
multiple trial and errors in like perfecting the organization.
Exactly. So this is something that has been always as a top task at hand on how to make sure that the organization is as flat as possible.
And you were there at the Founder Mode event when Brian Chesky spoke about Founder Mode. How did, when you were thinking about that, was there conclusions or were there learnings you drew from that you sort of applied to the business?
So it was pretty interesting to have this talk that we all have gone through similar tasks at hand.
It makes sense. Like it's like no one has experience from scaling company before. You have to sort of like learn it as you're doing it.
It's been a learning experience, but oh boy, how much there is still to be done on this front.
And then the last thing that happened is AI and deepfakes. And in the last couple of years, maybe you can say, it's been relatively straightforward to create fake identities. Like you can create thousands of documents of the kind that you are verifying, and probably anybody can do this at this point. First, I want to kind of ask, like, how have you experienced this? You've told me some stories, like before this interview, how your customers have experienced this. Can you give some examples of like how are fake identities or deepfakes actually messing up society in a way, or messing up these products?
Like number one, deepfakes haven't been anything new. The fact that over the past 10 years, it was at the beginning more of a Hollywood production. Now it's in the hands with very low cost for everybody. So what it meant was also the case that if you're having a single threaded verification methods that only, let's say, is relying on media or biometrics or something that is single threaded, then the cost of doing fraud, pretending to be somebody else, is now lower than ever before. So what we've been able to see at the moment, how the AI has actually created a lot of challenges of the companies who have not been able to actually get a more robust verification in place and still relying on pictures for this task at hand, then they are not having fun times.
Right.
But the key is to truly make sure that how we can actually move fast as a whole industry, how we can actually all contribute into this trust infrastructure, as this is going to be one of the most important areas towards our growth.
Yeah, I'm curious. So Sam Altman recently said that banks who authenticate with voice, to like having your voice being your identity, and that isn't sufficient for verification, is basically already broken, and you can fix that and bypass that authentication layer. I'm assuming that deepfakes can do anything at this point. Like how will you sort of like where does this go from here? Like how will a company like Veriff protect the data of the customers if you can effectively deepfake everything around a human identity? Again, I would imagine the government's relay system, where a government have a central system where there's sort of like you authenticating with the central system is pretty safe, I would imagine, but maybe not. But in your case, you are still, most of the authentication methods is on the client side. It's on, so like all the information I'm giving is already here.
Yes. Can voice be spoofed? Yes. Can just video or pictures? The answer is yes. But the source gets actually down to the ability to have a lot of data points that enable you to see beyond the obvious whether everything is good or not. And what it means is that during the verification step, leveraging the user's behavior within the flow together with an accelerometer and the video movement connections up until getting to the point where you're able to see whether the device at hand is having the real camera, not injected media. So all of those multiple layers enable you to accurately say if it's a real human being with their valid ID. But if you just have a layered approach, like one approach, then it gives you false comfort, and this can't be used. So that's the reason why we are seeing quite a lot how much the world is going to already change.
Because I would imagine at the same time as this is happening, getting easier, is getting more important for everyone to verifying myself for everything. Like I'm now verified on Airbnb as a guest, right? Like every guest on Airbnb is soon be verified.
Exactly, because the fact that we are having all access to those tools is also meaning that those fraudsters who are unfortunately pretty highly funded, who can actually outsmart, they are also having access to those tools at hand.
So we're basically in an arms race right now.
Exactly, because we need to maintain the trust of the platform. Imagine somebody is on a dating platform and they are like on this dating platform and they are like talking with someone that speaks their mother tongue, and within a week there's a discussion. Okay, you seem nice, let's meet up. But eventually the person is like, can you pay for my flight ticket, because it's payday is gonna be 3 days out. They're going to pay this ticket, and eventually somebody just defrauded someone they thought is a real human being.
But they were chatting with an AI the whole time.
They were chatting with a person having 1,500 conversations at the same time. So what it means is that people still want to date, but they want to date with real human beings.
Of course.
And if you also start to see across the board how important actually is for our platforms the trust. Like Airbnb changed the way how we can actually trust you sleep in someone else's home.
Yes.
We are not going towards the scale of Facebook Marketplace to do it.
Right.
Airbnb showed it, Uber proved it on ride hailing, and now for the whole industry it's important, as otherwise AI is not enabling us to put it for the good use.
And if you would redesign a new identity system from the ground up, you had free, you can do whatever you wanted, how will you design a new system that everyone had to adopt?
Eventually, when we are thinking today the identity journey of every single company, be it the financial services to build up and meet compliance, or marketplaces to build up trust, then all the new customers of theirs need to go through 3 questions.
Yep.
Is this person really who they claim to be? Is this person trusted?
Yeah.
And is this trusted person still behind already verified account?
Right.
So this means that all the companies, no matter the sector, is like identity, trust, and authentication. So from our side, we are working on answering all of those 3 questions for the companies and onboarding new people.
Right.
But that's an area why we are calling it the trust infrastructure, as it's not an identity alone, because if I just know Gustaf is Gustaf, I also would like to know if Gustaf is trusted. So I can provide a white glove treatment with least friction on the funnel, and not to always go through every single step.
So if I'm a customer of Veriff in the future, I want to know not just is Gustaf, but also is there a history of Gustaf being a trusted person, or is he a fraudster?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if we are only relying on identity, which is government issued ID, then it means for the first 18 years that your son of your parents born in Sweden.
Yeah.
But
there's no information.
Exactly. But our identities are so much more complex than that. Tech has already driven a lot of globalization, whereas now, by leveraging the trust infrastructure, we can see that, okay, you've been a good actor at Uber, Airbnb, PayPal, Stripe, Google, you name it.
And everybody benefits from this.
And this builds up so much stronger source of an identity than government-issued ID ever can be.
So if you are an 18 or 20-year-old founder watching this video, what advice would you give to that person? Let's say they don't have as much experience, they haven't gone to university yet. What kept you going and what kept you successful at that age?
I think from the part where you'd like to become a founder, then you truly need to have a conviction on the problem at hand you'd like to solve. And then you start to think about the technology at hand. I've seen too many times, no matter what is important at the moment, where people wanted to just build an app, or people wanted to have something on blockchain, or up until today, AI, but what is a problem we'd like to deploy them as technologies to solve.
Yeah.
And once you're approaching this on a level like this, then you are also having a conviction of getting through the good and the hard times. Luckily, it's the part that bad never lasts forever, but unfortunately good as well. So you always got to stay on your track and keep on going.
Got it. Okay. What's next for Veriff?
We are going to keep on driving the industry-wide collaboration against fraud up until we can show that this is not the business to be in. And also keep on working towards driving least friction for the honest. And this is a long track on really making sure that you can answer all of those 3 questions. Is this person trusted? Like the same one, trusted or still behind this account? And keep on building the strength. Keep on building towards a pattern of identity that no matter where we go in the world, we can take our trust with us. We can have access to the services, and we can enable global businesses to grow globally, enable actually so much better experience for the customers, and keep the world going as a result.
Okay.
Thank you, Kaarel, for coming back to YC.
Thank you, Gustaf.